Guys, is it just not the Mariners' time right now? I thought it was this year. Man, I said it in the title pretty well. Rodden and Robles led a resilient effort, but the rotten results just continue for the Seattle Mariners. Welcome to the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's mind. Mariners fall in game 123, 10-7 to the Houston Astros in Daikin Park. Both teams have 12 hits, get out hit 241 to 193 unexpected batting average, and you make a late game comeback. You really fought throughout this game, but the results are just not where you need them to be. And at the end of the day, I don't even want to say it's a crushing loss, because when the team plays that well, the team puts up that much of a fight, it's like that was a decent game to watch still. You gave me the feeling of we were going to win, and, to rip it away, I understand it's like that's bad, but it's not just as bad, right? Another team, see my team put up an effort, then, and lose a close one, then not make an effort, not put up an effort at all. So not the worst game in my opinion, even though it is a really frustrating one. And for some people, this would be like the worst game, in certain ways. For me, I'm just not there. It's not where I'm at. I'm going to do a quick hydration break, as always. I just went through this game. I've got a headache. I've been sick the last couple of days, trying to get these videos out. So I might make this one pretty quick for you guys anyway, but quick hydration break, guys. As always, right? Keep the main thing the main thing. Control what you can control. So I'm going to hydrate before we talk about this one further. Cheers. And I don't usually even do Gatorade, but right now I have been drinking Gatorade the last day because, it's been helping with my sickness, just all sorts of stuff like that. So it is what it is. Anyway, might come back with a longer pregame stream tomorrow. Tonight, I am a little bit deflated. Got a lot to talk about in terms of individual players and their performances, where I think they're trending up and down, but it is tough to do it. This is where being a scout is tough. And if you want to look at things with a scouting mindset, you have to be able to do it in these times. Talk about incredible bad luck, drumsticks, absolutely. Ground rule double instead of regular double to score Robles from third. 2 weak RBIs. Just can't catch a break when they did play well. Yeah, can't catch a break. With Rodden, the ground rule double, I thought it hit the pole, to be honest. I thought it could have hit the pole. But, it was literally, I don't know, a couple more feet, from hitting that pole. And I was just like, go, hit that pole. I thought it was, he pulled it down the line, I thought it was going to get there. It doesn't get there. It's rough. But what are you going to do? Such a, and again, this is where it's like on Marine Layer, when I talked to those guys, and was on there, a little short, I was like, you don't have any room to be surprised pleasantly by anything that any players do, because you need everything, right? You need everything to be in anywhere close to where you should be. So expectations are all messed up. Yeah. Then scoring Robles from third, 2 weak RBIs, just can't catch a break when they did play well. Exactly. So it's kind of like, when you feeling less than 100%, right? My sickness right now is not anything, but like there is times where it could be like, oh, I'm having bad luck, and now it's compounding, right? And that's speaks to, Walker hitting the bomb at the end. It's like Munoz, you see, I've never seen him just march into the dugout so quickly. So frustrating. So frustrating. It is deflating. It's almost like you just want to say, well, hey, this just wasn't our night, just wasn't our year, right? But it's like you don't want to hear that. And at the end of the day, you still have a chance to do some things. You saw how well the team played, right? So, and you're going to play these baseball games either way until you're mathematically eliminated. You might as well just keep going, giving it everything you got. But at this point, you are between like mathematical elimination. You've gone from like, I want to show you guys this. This is incredibly revealing. I could talk about these swinging strikes, but Kirby had a really bad line tonight. And Kirby had a disgusting approach tonight. I'm actually really like embarrassed that if you're going to not trade him and then, you're going to come out here with this after last time, I thought the approach was better. You come out here, 7 swinging strikes on 99 pitches. And, the average exit velocity, 87.2, 6 hard hits only. But it was like a pitch to contact thing. And, 41% in the zone. He's not very aggressive. And then, 31% chase is okay, but it's not a whole lot. By the way, shout out to Game Day. I put your comment up here. I didn't even stop to say what's up because I kind of got on a roll with this rant. But Kirby, strike percent 62. That's terrible. You need a whole lot more than that if you're going to be successful. Yeah, this was really not a good one. And then, Peter Lambert did actually find, like, it felt like the Mariners did a good job against him. They got him up on the pitches, got him out of there in the 5th after the 5 innings. But they also did, less than 3 times through the order, obviously, but he did get on to the 3rd time. And then, 96 pitches, both teams fouled off a ton. Drumsticks, it's more frustrating because of how mediocre they've been playing this season, and this happens. That's why it's frustrating. Exactly. He was bad starting day. Exactly. At least the offense had some fight. Drumsticks put it very well. Honestly, I agree with everything you said here. Thank you for saying it because I'm having a hard time just, getting each relevant point out. This is why I give Dan Wilson some grace because I know how hard it is to recount everything after, you're trying to give that speech. And, it is tough. And, whether he continues to do it or not, I think someday he would be an interesting consultant, an interesting voice, like still in baseball because of, this experience. And I don't think he handles it particularly like the worst. I won't say he handles it well because by no means can I say with everything that goes on, you do have to be able to just make your own luck and create, public perception being a little bit better. You can't say Dan Wilson's unlucky with public perception. You have to say, okay, a little bit more communication. And obviously the team playing is, a big part of it too. But, some responsibility has to be taken, for the players and, by Dan Wilson, obviously. So you're looking at the 7 pitch mix that Peter Lambert used, right? It's just enough to keep the Mariners off balance, keep them guessing. 12 swinging strikes on 96 pitches for Peter Lambert. And overall, I see Peter Lambert and I'm like, he's had, some really good results recently. Just a little bit more, 63% strike percent than Kirby, just a little more zone percent. Just a little less zone swing, which is good, right? You want them swinging less in the zone. That's free strikes. And then Chase, 31, exactly the same. So he ended up very, very similar to Kirby and ended up just edging him in certain key metrics. But also he had he also had a significantly lower average at EV, 2.1 miles an hour lower. Then he had a swinging strike rate, or he had 5 more swinging strikes, right, on similar pitch counts. So you got to give Peter Lambert credit. And really, I would say I'd give more of the Astros credit because you look at the way that they're mixing up Peter Lambert's pitch mix. You see a clear approach here. The changeup, they're trying to work this quadrant, right? And then they're working it to this part and then to this part. It's more frustrating because of how mediocre they've been playing this season. This happens. That's why it's frustrating. He was bad starting day. At least the offense had some fight. Yeah, it is something like, I think I was talking the other day about how, they do put pressure on each other, the phases of the game, in terms of time of possession in football, right? And you don't get the same thing with the time in baseball, but you get the same thing with the momentum, if that makes sense. And it works in slightly different ways, but at the end of the day, the momentum, shifting back and forth in this game, the Mariners, I thought, did a good job getting that momentum at points, better than we've seen for a lot of this year. So it's hard to say that today was the problem. You really can't say today was the problem. It's just today is more of a late stage part of this than it is like an early stage. And at the end of the day, I don't even think, I know a lot of people are not going to like me, and a lot of Mariners YouTubers would say different things than me, who I'm friends with, who I appreciate and respect their opinions as well. I don't fault the Mariners organization that much this year. if a lot of, your star players falling off a cliff is, going to have that effect. And I don't even do I blame Cal Raleigh? That's like a philosophical question, right? And it's really hard to be, as a human being, to bring yourself to blame Cal Raleigh. So it's like, I encourage you to take a big lesson this year and say, look, if we don't learn all the lessons about baseball this year, we failed. Because if we don't let it slip there. But yeah, like if we don't learn some lessons about baseball this year, we definitely failed, right? If you'd better learn something when this is all going on, right? And that's what you're talking about drumsticks with the phases and the mediocrity, frustration. Yeah, that's really what it is, right? It's the momentum. It's the and that's when you talk about the film, right? In football, it's you watch the film play to play, and you can kind of skip through the plays. Baseball, you can kind of skip through the pitches, but there's a lot more momentum. It's not like soccer though, where it's continuous. So seeing the momentum in baseball can be a lot harder to do. And maybe the Mariners have had a hard time of it this year, but I do think the same players are going to get back to being good at next year. My worry is these players, like Cal, are you good? Like, what can we do to make this, easier at some point and, figure this thing out? I didn't even finish on Lambert, his pitch mix. Yeah, but the changeup, they're working this part, right? You want to work all four quadrants of the zone with different pitches, in different ways. So the fastball is like getting these kind of, quadrants. It's like when you cut a sandwich diagonally, right? If you make a grilled cheese sandwich and you cut it, diagonally. Yeah, I can zoom in. All right. You know what we're going to do? I think we can do this. Grilled cheese sandwich, diagonal cut. We're just going to do a grilled cheese as the example. But zoom out just a little bit. All right, there we go. This is, oh, shit, stop sharing altogether. Hold on here, everybody. Funny enough, this is what I was trying to show you, right? You look at this diagonal and wait. Okay, boom. I'm going to show you again. So you see this diagonal line right here through it. I'll get to you in just a second, drumsticks. But yeah, look at this, right? This is kind of how you want to think of Peter Lambert from now on. If you do end up getting, this is basically what he wanted to do. It's a grilled cheese sandwich, to cut diagonally, is what he did to the Mariners, with the strike zone. That's what I got for you tonight. I'm trying to find some humor in this. But yeah, it's like, this changeup, which the Mariners have had trouble with the changeup all season. Then the fastball, they've had trouble with the fastball as well. Combine those two things, what do you get? You get a devastating pitch mix against the Mariners. At least, one that's more devastating than what George Kirby offered, which, to give you some contrast, right? Because I could tell you anything, right? It's a grilled cheese sandwich, and that means it's good. Let's go look at George Kirby. I'm really not that technically adept, obviously. So he's got the sweeper that he's throwing everywhere, and he's got the knuckle curve that he's throwing kind of everywhere, and then the changeup is like kind of all over the lower half of things, but there's not that many of them to really even get a read on it. The sinker, can I find some method to that? Well, there's not that many sinkers inside on right-handed batters, which is what I'd prefer, right? Then there's also quite a few inside on lefties of these orange dots, right? So those are things that I've been talking about for a while now that, I would definitely the quadrants that I want him. I want Kirby living with the orange, the sinker in this quadrant, inside to righties and up and in, and then the sweeper down and away, back door right there. Now you see, I can find a little bit of orange around here. I can find a little bit of yellow around here, but I don't see any sort of congregation. This is a big mess. This looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. In fact, boom. This is what Kirby's, this is the pattern that I find in Kirby's pitch, in his illustration right here, his pitch chart, because It's literally just every pitch is everywhere, kind of. It's not enough rhythm. So I'm going to keep going back and forth. Remember, each of these pitches, we talked about each of them individually, and the cutter is up here. There's only like 3 of those, 2 of those. Look at that. Look at that. Let's see. Yeah, like some of them have a whole lot of different colors, right? Everywhere. It's kind of exactly what curvies look like. And back to that, boom. So there's those might be the dumbest piece of content I ever put out. Might have been interesting. Let me know either way. Would love to know your thoughts. Getting to our comments over here. Drumsticks players underperforming. This kind of reminds me of the 1996 season after the 1995 season. Very good call back in memory. Didn't perform on top, had a ton of injuries. Let's hope they learn and get back to good baseball. That's a great point because 1997, you gave yourself a chance again, and you had an incredibly talented team. At this point, your odds are going down and down and down. You're going to be below 20% to make the playoffs at this point, or below at least to win the division. To make the playoffs, you might need you're probably going to reach 25 or below 25% chance to make the playoffs for the first time all year tonight. So it is what it is. We're just going 1-0. That's all you can do. And Jake Mueller, keep believing. Shout out. Absolutely. Great analogy with the art. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let me know, because that's, reading these pitch charts on Baseball Savant, right? I've just read like as many as these game recaps I've done this year, 120. I've just looked at, a couple hundred of these things. And now I'm trying to find patterns in them and compare them to things, anything I can think of that my brain recognizes, that my eyes see, right? I'm not doing something that obviously there's no scouting manual that tells me, oh yeah, compare things to sandwiches or paintings. No, but like when I encourage you to do that, right? And I do that more to show you like, this is what a scattered pitch chart looks like with no plan. And then this is what a cleanly kind of cut with a knife almost would be an analogy you could use, right? I'm kind of just, putting all these things together as an analogy because that's honestly the best we can do right now. You can't talk about I will say this. Hats off to the players on the field, right? They're the ones who put this hat on and they went and made it mean something tonight. This did mean something tonight. Mariners fans around the globe got to watch this and say, hey, this meant something, right? These guys absolutely played their heart out. I can't wait to see what they do tomorrow. If they can just, I like Mariners baseball. There's been plenty of seasons, where we haven't made the playoffs. If we don't make the playoffs this year, it sucks. It's really disappointing. And it looks like, we're going to be under a quarter chance to do that. So is what it is. It looks like Mariners minors tweeting that Carter Derigi just walked it off at one of in the minor league. So shout out to him. But I appreciate with you guys, and we're just going to keep going 1-0. Like at the end of the day, I've been waiting my whole life for the Mariners to go to the World Series. If this is the point where they don't do it, there will be another point where they can. So I think the title kind of puts it well, right? And I always love the alliteration. That's something that my grandmother was an English teacher, taught me about writing, and one of the most effective, easiest to identify literary techniques, alliteration. Just having the same letter, same sound, keep stacking on top of each other with like like a title of any sort. That's key. So yeah, Rodden which by the way, R's. I'm like a Brooklyn Italian accent a little bit. So Bronx Italian accent. So my R's are the hardest letter for me to pronounce. Rodden Robles lead resilient effort, yet rotten results continue. That's basically what it is. The results were bad, but the effort was good. And Drumsticks, I appreciate you. Absolutely agree with what you're saying here too. Don't change the approach. The same injury is what is needed. If they keep this day in, day out, then we'll be successful in the future, but this season, next season. Absolutely. Now, is it worth it to keep, Dan Wilson after the season? I'm not going to go ahead and have that argument right now without seeing the next 40 games, the next 39 games that we have left in this regular season. Seeing if, we do execute on the 22% chance that we still make the playoffs or whatever, right? we're going to see all those things through. And then we're going to make decisions when we need to. When we had to make the decision on Ruff Snyder, made that decision. When we had to make the decision on, which, by the way, Colt Emerson, I haven't even talked about the whole wrist injection thing, and all that, which I see that and I'm like, man, like, I do say, like, where did we go wrong, right? I used to work in youth sports. I actually feel confident saying this. I was telling somebody I know about this earlier today, where I used to work in youth sports, and I was the person who was running a select team, building a select team up, trying to compete, seeing how much youth sports is kind of infected with, pay to play, and kind of professional development at too young of an age, and things that lead to pretty damaging things. Like, I'm hearing Jeff Passan on All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes yesterday, and he's talking about, okay, there's certain trainers in the Dominican Republic that are injecting kids with, with steroids at the age 10, so that by the time they're 12, they can agree to contracts that they can sign when they're 16. And you follow the money. Sometimes there is corruption, and things like this. I appreciate June Lee for being a good reporter about this stuff, everything he does on his channel about that. But when you look at all this, it's like, where did we go wrong, right? We don't want to let the worst problems of society bleed into the Mariners, right? This isn't crappy youth sports with pressure and attitudes, right? This isn't, obviously these guys are professionals. Too soon on Dan, but might need someone new just on the communication aspect. I see what you're saying. Just seems to not handle the media or interviews very well. And that is, something that, like, you have to buy some goodwill with the fans. The fans do matter to an extent, but I'm also not going to agree with, I'll come out and say, right, Sean Collins, Like It Is podcast, I've disagreed with a lot of what he said in the last couple of days publicly on Twitter. I imagine in his podcast too. Is I haven't been watching his podcast, but he's been saying, oh, we just want the broadcasters to commiserate with us, and we want this to be, we just want to commiserate at this point. And he said that early in the game today when we were down 5-2, and we came back, obviously. So I had a lot of belief during this game. But again, you eventually have to stop giving those people, those people have, something to say because the team isn't doing well. I would really like to know what Sean is like. I'm sure, it'd be much easier. Everybody's going to agree, when things are going well. If we were on the Tampa Bay Rays beat, covering the team, I'm sure everything would be going much, much easier. Actually, I'm not, because that team is talking about needing a stadium and being sold in the last couple of years. So every team's got its issues. Even the Dodgers, their owner right now, is in the news for selling the Lakers and things that are raising questions and raising more investigations and journalism that could reveal things that we don't know where it's going to go. But again, I would think everybody has a side of the story. I think Dan Wilson's got a side of the story. I think the fans have a side of the story. So I'm not here to tell anybody that they're completely wrong or completely unjustified in the Mariners community. I'm here to say that as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic, and give all glory to God, that you can't lose. I'll be back again probably tomorrow. My voice can only take this long. Take a hot shower, hit the sack, and try to get back at it tomorrow. That's all we can do. So go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic, give all glory to God. As long as you do those three things, you can't lose. I'll be back again tomorrow with the pregame. I'm liking the streams for the pregame. Let me know what you guys think of that as opposed to the shorts. And see you guys then. Have a wonderful night. God bless. Go Adams. Oh yeah, I'm thinking ending my videos now with good baseball. God bless.